Good morning, everybody, and welcome today to Tapping in Part 5. I hope that you all are good and well today and looking forward to looking at accessible tourism and events within the southwest region of Australia. So if you're joining me for the first time today, welcome to the Two Wise Monkeys workshops. Grab a pen and paper, grab something to take notes. There's 6 parts to these webinars, so if you're just starting with us today on part 5, we will then be doing part 6 on Tuesday, and then Wednesday starting back at part 1. They do finish at the end of June, so do get in and get them all done before we finish. But if you do miss out on seeing them, you can re-watch them on our website. So first up, I would like to do an acknowledgement of country. 30 Foot Drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures, their beliefs, to the elders both past and present. 30 Foot Drop funding. Just going to move over a bit. 30 Foot Drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as the Two Wise Monkeys project wouldn't see the light of day, and we'd be much more poorer for it as a community, so we thank them very much for the funding. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30 Foot Drop as part of an Information Linkages and Capacity Building grant for 2018 and 2019. Let's now go over some housekeeping on how we run our webinars. Unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to monitor all of our live platforms. So if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube, you won't be able to send me a direct message. If you'd like to send me a direct message though, you can head over to the website, which is just below the video here that you're watching. So jump over to www.30footdrop.com.au, go into the live box and you'll be able to send me a message. And if you are watching from Facebook and you are finding it hard to hear or you have a hearing impairment, you can now get subtitles. So just turn the sound down and then subtitles will come up for you, which is an amazing thing that Facebook has done. Make sure as well that you tag 30 Foot Drop and anything that you share about us, share our information with your friends, tag us in there, because the more people that know about what we're doing, obviously the better we're going to be as a community and getting our message out there to make these amazing changes. And if you know anyone, please share the information with them. We also record every session, so if you do miss something and you want to go back and rewind it, you can do that once the video has stopped. And you can catch up on any other webinars that you may have missed out on as well, because they're all recorded. You can find those on our website, which is the 30 Foot Drop website, and go into previous webinars. At the end of the webinar, we do have a short survey that we would be really grateful if you guys could fill that out. So when I'm finished, just jump into the link below and go into the Tapping In Part 5 survey. There's only a few questions on there. The more feedback we can get, the better we can make changes and move forward and look at other things that you are wanting to share with us. Okay. Next up is the introductions. I'm Lisa and I am one of the Two Wise Monkeys. I am Hear No Evil. The other monkey is Ben. He's the director of the Two Wise Monkeys workshops and 30 Foot Drop. Through him, he's lived both lives where he's lived an able-bodied person and he's lived in a disabled body. So through him been through both, he realised that people just don't know enough about disability, how to treat people with a disability, and the things that they need. So we are here to educate people on what people with disability want and need. So it's really awesome that he's doing this, and hopefully we're benefiting lots and lots of businesses, and that businesses are educating themselves and making these awesome changes so that people with disability and impairment feel included within your business or service. But I am Lisa, and hear no evil am I, and my impairment's more of a hidden one. Most people that know me don't even know that I have this impairment. But 30 something years ago, I was born 10 weeks premature. And with premature births, there can be complications at the beginning or throughout life. So when I was 8, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, mild dyslexia. Teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks, yell at me in front of my classmates. Why don't you understand what's wrong with you? Making me feel completely dumb and unworthy, which is bullying. Those teachers were bullying me, and yeah, I've seen they're still around, and it's just crazy that they got away with it, I guess. Anyway, they wouldn't get away with it nowadays. So I was determined to prove them wrong and succeed in life. And it was hard. I had to go to extra help before school. None of my friends had to. I absolutely hated it. But unfortunately, with learning disabilities, you do have to try that little bit harder. There's little bits of the puzzle that aren't quite linking up or have been missed that you need to try and link up again. I ended up doing pretty good at school, but with a lot of effort. But I found my passion was in art. I realised at 13 that, oh my goodness, I can actually draw. I can actually paint, and I'm actually better than some of my classmates. I ended up leaving school getting 90% in art and photography, doing really well in the creative side, even sewing as well, I did well. So if you have a learning disability, don't let it stop you from succeeding or doing or being who you want to be. You will find that passion, just like I did, and you will follow your dreams. I've got an arts diploma. I've got a fine art diploma where I've done picture framing for 12 years, worked in art galleries all around the world, organised exhibitions, had my own exhibitions, marketing. I've done the marketing, the catering, everything to do with organising exhibitions, and working with artists as well as doing it myself. So, it didn't stop me doing what I wanted to do and being who I wanted to be, and I feel like I achieved much more than they thought I would have. So, please don't give up on yourself. You don't have to be the most amazing speller or the most amazing mathematician to get to where you want to be in life. I also have a counselling diploma, which is why I am here with Ben today. As well as sharing my impairment, but I really like to help people and show empathy and sympathy and just get people to feel better about themselves and help their needs met through different ways. So that's why I'm here with Ben, to try and help things change for a better world out there. So that is me. Now, when we look at the monkeys, there's see no evil and there's hear no evil. Normally there's speak no evil. So I ask you today, who is speak no evil? You guys can take a guess as to who speak no evil is. You guys. You guessed it. It's you. The aim of today's workshop is to turn you into that wise monkey. You'll begin on a journey of realizing that, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be acknowledged and treated in the same way as everyone else. Outline a method. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential impacts on your business. First up, we're going to look at the most recent Australian research so that you can understand the size of the accessible tourism market in WA. This is an exciting market to learn about, and especially if you're watching today. This market has definitely been forgotten, so let's have a look at this lost market, and please, along the way, ask yourself as a business owner or owner of a service, do you support the needs of someone with a disability or impairment? After this, we will break down the segment and examine the characteristics of it. To finish off, we'll have an open forum where we can ask questions. You can send me in questions and we can talk about the questions afterwards. And also the survey, which I mentioned before. So how are we going to cover this? What will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, open, honest discussion. If we can't be open and honest about how we feel about disability, then, about disability and impairment, if we can't be honest with companies and services, then things aren't going to change. If you see a company or business that aren't quite getting it right, send them over to us. Help us educate them so that they can make the changes that they need to make so that you, as a person with disability or impairment, feel more included and you're able to access their business. You'll notice that there's very little written content on the slides, and that is so that we can interact with each other, especially when we are doing the face-to-face webinars. So, it makes it easy to follow. There's not too much complex information. The writing and the colours are clear. The contrast is easy to see and understand. So if you do have an impairment or a disability, it's nice and easy for you. And like I said before, if you do have a hearing impairment and you're finding it hard to hear, you can jump onto Facebook, turn the sound down, and you will get subtitles. So jump onto the 30-Foot Drop Facebook page, and then the webinars that I'm doing right now will be on there live. Okay, next I'm going to go over some terminology where people get these words mixed up thinking that they are the same thing, when in fact they're all very different. First up, I'm going to talk about impairment. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of psychological and physiological function. In short, your impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my medical diagnosis is that I have mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access or participate in something. So an example of this for someone like me that has dyslexia or someone else that has a learning disability. Too much wording, stylized script, and complex information can make it hard for people with a learning disability or impairment to understand the message, which then means that we're not getting the right information that we need to use your business or service. This is especially important to know because some people's impairments, like mine, are hidden. And if you're missing that hidden impairment, then you're potentially losing someone like me as a customer. If it's too complicated or complex, too hard, I'm going to go find someone else or somewhere else that is easier to understand. So, there'll be many people out there that may find your website or your marketing or your social media platforms too confusing. So make sure that it's easy, because if you don't, you're potentially missing out on them as customers. Okay, now we're going to talk about access. Access refers to the removal or reduction of physical barriers to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and can be checked with a checklist. So if you own a cafe, are your doors wide enough for someone in a wheelchair or that uses a mobility device? Can they get in the door? Do you have a ramp so that if there's a little step there, do you have a ramp where they can get in the door? Because if you've done our live webinars, we set up a little obstacle track and people have a go in a wheelchair. And we've got a little lip step that's only that high. And, 80% of people find it very, very difficult to get up that tiny ramp. And a lot of people don't realize that, obviously. So imagine what one this high would be for someone in a wheelchair. They just can't get in. So look at these things. Go to our website. We have an accessibility checklist where you can go through and see, yep, my door handles are at a good level for someone in a wheelchair or someone with short stature. My door frames and my openings are wide enough for someone in a wheelchair or who has a mobility issue. There's many things that you can look at to make changes so that people with disability and impairment can come into your business. So it can be simple things and small changes that make such a big difference to someone in a wheelchair or someone with an impairment. Okay, inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is a process whereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, sexual preference, nationality, who wishes to can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as every other member in the community. You need to make sure that your business includes everyone, no matter their disability, no matter their impairment, no matter how they appear, no matter how they look, or their sexual preference or their religion. You need to make sure that your business is inclusive to every human being. An example of this is if someone in a wheelchair, for example, comes into your restaurant, you haven't got that that ramp so they can get in the door, or the door frame's not wide enough. You've told that person in the wheelchair, oh sorry, you have to come through the kitchen to come and sit in our lovely restaurant. Now that's not being inclusive. How would you feel going through the kitchen if you were paying top dollar for a meal? I would hope that I would get a discount. And I'm sure they don't offer a discount for doing that. So, how would you feel having to go through the kitchen in your wheelchair because you can't get in the front door? It would not be a nice thing, and it's really degrading. Anyway, those are the terms of those words. So I hope they made sense to you and you've got a little bit more understanding of those 4 words. If there's any questions, please jump onto the link below and go into the live question box. Okay, now let's head into today's stuff that we will be going over. Southwest Tourism Stats Overview. The following stats have been taken from the Southwest 2017 Visitor Fact Sheet, as well as the economic contribution of tourism in Western Australia's tourism regions, produced by Tourism WA. Both stats information can be found in our resource library. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned that before. Everything that we speak about is all available in greater detail on our website. So if you wanted to look more into these stats or anything else I've spoken about, they're all on our website under resources, and that's where you'll find the accessibility checklist also. But if you want to look more into this, you can jump on our website and it's all there. Okay, during 3 years, from 2014 to 2016, our region had an average of 2.49 million overnight visitors. This does not include day trippers. Every visitor stayed on average 3.6 nights. The direct and indirect contribution to the Southwest region in 2016 and 17 was 14%. And tourism accounts for one in 5 people being employed in this region. So a lot of people are employed through the tourism industry down in the Southwest region. Okay, the accessible tourism market. The following stats have come from a report called the Accessible Tourism of Victoria and Queensland, done by Tourism Research Australia in conjunction with each state's tourism departments. Unfortunately, no research has been released that focuses particularly on WA, but the report focuses on Australia as a whole. So it also only looks like It also only looks at the domestic market, so these numbers are likely to be higher when international visitors are included. But due to the similarities between the southwest tourism market and those of New South Wales and Queensland, we have extracted the findings to calculate the following. This study estimates that the size of the accessible tourism market for overnight or day trips is 7%, or 1.3 million people Australia-wide, equating to almost 150,000 in WA alone. The thing is, with this 7%, most of us really travel alone, with an average party of 2.49 overnight travel and 2.62 for day trips, bringing this figure now to 17%, or 390,000 of WA's population requiring accessible tourism experiences. So, ask yourself, is your business accessible to this 17% or this 390,000 people that are needing accessible tourism experiences? That's a lot of people in WA that could be missing out on your business because you're not accessible or you're not inclusive. The estimated annual expenditure for this segment comes to approximately $8 billion Australia-wide, which equates to 916 million WA-wide and 163 million here in the southwest. Now that is a lot of money to be spent, and especially at this current time, even though it's winter and it's not that nice to go and do tourism attractions, because of the virus, we're all at a bit of a standstill. So if you, as a business owner, want to attract more people to your business, I hope you're watching today, because there is a lost market that want to be included in your business. So now you can make the changes before summer, so that when they come down from Perth or wherever it is they've come from to use your business, it is accessible and inclusive, and they want to come and spend their money with you. Okay, now let's look at the unserved segment. This report noted that there is a segment of Australians with an impairment, including adults caring for a child with an impairment, who are not currently travelling, which is really sad, but they would like to travel with certain industry improvements in accommodation, transport and current technologies. In WA, this segment is estimated at 34,000 people, which is approximately 225 million W-wide. This represents a large boost when you consider the size is 163 million. Once again, so much money to be spent. Understanding the market. So we know that there is a market segment of people with impairment that can be tapped into by tourism and events businesses. Let's now have a look at their needs so you can better understand how we can serve them best. Although people with impairment generally have lower incomes than the average population, they should not be considered as low income. More than 1/4 of those who identified as having an impairment were in the top 2 income categories, which means they have a disposable income of $900 per week. Wow. In the Accessible Tourism Survey, they found that approximately 55% of the segment had mobility issues. This included people who use mobility devices and those that have difficulty moving more than a short distance. Of those in the segment that do not travel, 23% was because it was just too stressful, and the other 22% was because it was just too hard. Like most Australians, people in this segment travel for leisure, but it was noted that visits to friends and relatives was often preferred because they know the layout of the accommodation, which helped in planning and resulted in a less stressful trip. So you as a business owner can change that. You can stop those people going to friends and relatives every time. You can make your business accessible and inclusive and make it stress-free for these customers that are wanting to come to different places and explore different places. But you just need to make those changes so that they can feel comfortable coming to you and not stressed and worried about what may be ahead of them, that you haven't got an accessible shower when they turn up there, or they can't actually get in the building. You need to make sure it's accessible or they're not going to want to come. And if you follow us over the next webinars, you will see what other changes can be made. So join us for those, or if you don't have time to log in live, you can watch the previous ones. Okay, understanding the market. Part 2. Travellers with an impairment share many characteristics with the broader population. The tools used in this decision making were just the same as the wider population, with internet searches coming in first and word of mouth second. Reconnection and unwinding are the core needs for all Australian travellers, and this is just as true for someone with a disability or impairment. Approximately 40% of travellers with an impairment sought to meet those needs through either more active, more emotionally or intellectually stimulating experiences. So that stat just highlights to us that we all just want and need the same thing, which is to feel included in your business. Although travellers with an impairment did slightly fewer activities, many of their experiences they participated in matched those of the broader population, doing things like eating out, visits to the beach, nature and cultural experiences. Overall, they tended to stay in the same types of accommodation and visit the same destinations as the broader population. And of those visitors, only 14% were 65 and over. So lots of people think it's mainly the people that are older that are needing these things. No, it's only 14%. The rest are people with disability and impairments. So this just shows that there are a lot of people out there who are wanting and needing your business. It's not just the older population, like I said. Many families and people who I know would love to come and visit your business. So all these things, some of them are small changes. Making sure you do have an accessible shower, or you do have a continuous path of travel for parking to their hotel room, for instance. All these little things that will make such a big difference to someone with a disability or impairment who are eagerly awaiting to come and visit your region or your hotel or your Airbnb. We all want new experiences. We all need to go on holiday to release the stresses that go on in everyday life. And I'm sure for most people with disability and impairment, those stresses and the depression and anxiety involved in being in that position, they need those holidays, and they need those more than most of us. They need a break. We all need a break, but I think they need it. They almost need it more than we do. So please try and accommodate their needs and make them feel included in your business. Be open-minded to make these changes, and maybe this year is the time of many changes for a better future for everyone. Anyway, that is Tapping In Part 5. I hope that you enjoyed it. That was quite a quick one. That's a short one, this one. I'm doing it again tonight, so if you know anyone that may be interested in watching this one, please send them over tonight at 6 p.m. Tonight is the last one for the week. We will then be doing Tapping In Part 6 on Tuesday. But right now I'm going to hit the question button. If you do have any questions, please send me a question, or if you have to go, that is fine. But before you go, please fill out the Tapping In Part 5 survey. Just follow the link below the video and you will find the survey. Thanks very much for joining me. I will see everyone else who is wanting to send in a question very soon. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. There doesn't seem to be any questions this morning, but that's totally fine. I hope that you enjoyed today's webinar, and I will see some of you next week when you log on to doing tapping in part 6. If you do know anyone that may benefit from this webinar that I've done today, please send them along at 6 o'clock tonight, as I will be doing it again. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe and stay well, and look after each other. See you later.